Let's now do some of the coding for a helicopter flight simulator to illustrate how you take care of events that involve pressing a key. The scenario here is that the mayor has lost his cat and we have to find it using a helicopter. We will be using several types of key presses. The A key will cause the helicopter to ascend, the D key to descend, and we'll be using arrow keys as well. Let's begin with most of the world set up. All the buildings and objects are in place, including the mayor's lost Cheshire cat. And here we are in the helicopter. There are a bunch of methods that have been created but not coded. One method that has been coded is the heliblade method that causes the rotor to turn. We won't bother writing that, it's already written. But what we do want to have happen is when the world starts, we want that method to start executing. So that's an event when the world starts. We want the heliblade to start executing. So the blade is going around. When we play this world, you see the helicopter blades are now turning. Let's see if we can work on the ascend method. That will be the event handler for the A key, which will cause the helicopter to ascend. Obviously, what we want to do is we want the helicopter to move, and we want it to move up. So as a first take on that, let's say it moves up by 1 meter. Let's give this a duration of 1/4 of a second, and that will be the ascend method to begin with. The ascend method will be called when the A key is pressed. So we have to create a new event when a key is typed. And of course we want it to be the A key, but actually when isn't going to quite work because that'll only call ascend once. We want to keep calling ascend as long as someone has the A key pressed. So what you can do to change that is you right-click on this and you change this to while the key is pressed. And we're going to put the actual event handler over here. Now, first we need to choose the key. The key to be pressed for ascend is A. And of course, the thing we are going to be calling as the A key is pressed is the ascend method. We don't have to worry what happens at the beginning or the end. That's if you want to have something at the very beginning when the key is pressed or at the very end, but we don't need that. So now it should happen that when I press on the A key, the helicopter will rise. So I'm pressing on the A key and there it goes, it's going up. Now let's work on descend. Obviously that's going to be very similar. We want the helicopter to move down, again by 1 meter, with a duration of 25 seconds. Actually, one more refinement I should have done that's in ascend as well is to use the begin and end abruptly style. Strangely enough, that actually gives you a smoother operation. So let's do that here as well. Begin and end abruptly. For the descend method, I also need the D key. So when a key is typed, again, I want this to be while the key is typed, and the key is going to be D. And the method to be invoked when that event happens is descend. So I should now be able to ascend, so I'm pressing the A key, And now I press the D key and I'm descending. And there's one problem here, and that is we can descend below the ground. So I don't want to do that. That doesn't really make any sense. So we can take care of that with an if statement. We will only descend if the helicopter is above the ground. So I'm going to move this into the if statement. To take care of this Boolean expression here, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be comparing the height of the helicopter above the ground, and we'll just put in dummy values for these two things. To figure out the height of the helicopter above the ground, I look at its functions, and I look at the distance above the ground, and the object I choose, of course, is the ground. And I check to see if that's going to be greater than or equal to, let's say 0. So now if I try descending, it doesn't work. I can ascend and descend, but I can't get any further down than that. We're going to do a similar thing for ascend, although that's not something that's going to come up very often. That is, we're only going to ascend if the height above the ground is at most a certain amount. So we do a similar thing. We pick the world, and we're checking to see if the height is at most a certain amount. Again, choosing dummy values. Actually, for this value on the right, the expression I'm choosing is the maximum height. And for the value on the left, it is the same as what we did for descend. That is, we look at the distance above the ground. So as long as the distance above the ground is at most the maximum height, we're going to move up. Okay, so we can ascend and we can descend. Another method to write is to turn. Now, what are we going to do? We want to be able to turn either left or right, and we need to choose which direction to turn. That will be determined by this parameter. So I want to look at what that parameter is, and if it says, for example, left, I will turn to the left, otherwise I will turn to the right. So I need an if statement. And what I would like to do, I want to see if the parameter, that is the direction, is equal to left. And I'll just use capital letters. If direction equals left, what I would like to do is I would like the helicopter to turn to the left by a pretty small amount. We'll turn to the left by 0.02 revolutions. We'll do this over a duration of 1/4 of a second. If direction is not left, then let's assume it's right. So in that case, the helicopter will turn to the right. Actually, instead of making that from scratch, I'll copy this, drag it down to here, and then change this left to right. So that's the event handler. Now I have to put in the event. So let's create the event, which is when a key is typed. Again, it's going to be while, not when. And the key I want it to be is the left arrow key, which you select like that. So when we hit the left arrow key, we want to turn slightly. And when I put this in here, it's going to ask for an argument. And since it's left, I'm going to choose the argument left. So when the left arrow key is hit, we turn slightly to the left. For the other possibility, we have to create another event because the right arrow key is a different key. So when a key is typed, again, we make it while, and the key in question, in this case, is the right arrow key. And now, of course, we want to turn slightly again, but our argument, instead of being left, is going to be another string, and let's just say it's right, although it doesn't matter as long as it's anything other than left. So now we can ascend and descend. Now we're ascending, and we can turn to the right or the left. I can get rid of some of that jerky motion by saying begin and end abruptly. So we can ascend, we can descend, we can turn slightly. And now let's do go. That's for going forward or going backward. So same kind of situation, except we're going to be moving rather than turning. So I need an if statement again. Now what I would like to do is check to see if the direction is forward or backward. So I'll drag the parameter direction into this Boolean expression, and I'll check to see if it is either forward or if it's not forward, we'll assume it's backward. So if it is forward, I would like the helicopter to move forward. And I'll have it move forward by 5 meters. We'll do this over a duration of a quarter second again. Again, to begin and end abruptly. For backward, we'll just copy this and make the appropriate change. So put this in the second branch of the if statement. Now the go method is written, but before using it, we have to create the appropriate events. The up arrow key is going to be used for moving forward. Again, this is going to be while. And that is the up arrow key for forward. So if that is the case, then we go forward. And one more event. The key is typed. While the key is typed. That key being the down arrow. We will go in the backward direction. So this should work. In fact, we should have enough to find the neighbor's cat. We can ascend and we can turn either way, turn to the right or turn to the left. And we can move forward by pressing the up arrow key or backward by pressing the down arrow key. So I'm just going to keep. And by the way, you can press the other keys simultaneously to move and turn. Now let's descend because I think I see the mayor's cat ahead. And there he is. There's the Cheshire Cat. There are several things that we did not do in this video. In particular, yes, we can't go down below a certain distance. Now we're on the ground. However, when we're on the ground, we can still move and we can still turn. So there should be something that tells us if we're in the air or not, because it should not be possible to move the helicopter when it's on the ground. This is extra stuff that you can read about. Meanwhile, enjoy. This is a fun project.